For me, comics are all about the pictures. That is, until I tried out Marvel's audiobook selection on Audible. These adaptations of classic Marvel stories are complete with music and sound effects that make you feel like you're in the movies. Perfect for your daily commute or trips with the kids. Get a free trial at comicsaredope.com/audible. That's comicsaredope.com/audible. Well, guys, tonight is going to be another just fun-filled episode. I'm going to pose a rhetorical question to you, the audience, because you can't answer. But have you ever met somebody and you're just like, you know what? This is my people. Like, we're here. We're clicking, right? That's how I feel about tonight's guest. My guest tonight is an acclaimed writer, winner of the Mad Cave Studios Talent Search, writer of such awesome titles as Tales from Nottingham, Try Not to Die, and of course, Worlds Away, which is now available as a trade paperback graphic novel. It's live on Kickstarter right now. And here to talk to me about all of those things is my friend, the writer, Damien Becton. How you doing, man?
I'm good, man. Thank you, man. But thank you for having me. Thank you for reaching out. And it was nice to meet you at Heroes Con, my dear brother. I appreciate you, man.
It was very nice meeting you as well. It was funny because I walked up to the table and it was as if we had known each other. I guess like,
Yeah, that's right.
Twitter feels that way, but it was like, you know what, man? This is my people. We're
Yeah,
here.
that was a like when I saw you, it was like I know this dude, and then you said, "Is that a Young Buck shirt?"
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I said, "Yeah, man." And then I asked you, like, "Hey, like we grew up around the same time,
Mhm.
we're '90s kids, grew up in the 2000s." So yeah, I absolutely feel the same, man. I appreciate
Oh man, no problem at all. Yeah, the Young Buck shirt. I was like, is that Young
that.
Buck? uh,
Uh,
that was great. So yeah, just for the audience, the first CD I bought with not my money. First CD I bought with my money was Kanye's Graduation. The first CD I bought though was G Unit's Beg for Mercy. 'Cause my friend's mom took us to Walmart and was like, I'm gonna buy y'all CDs, but they gotta come from Walmart because they're edited. And so I got G Unit Beg for Mercy. My best friend got Outkast Speaker Box and The Love Below,
two
which
classics, man. Two classics.
two classics. The fact that I chose G Unit, like the suburb kid that I was, is just crazy to me.
I mean, that's fair, man. Like I can imagine, like every other word was probably edited out, but
Man,
still a classic.
right. And it's not even like they record like extra versions or whatever. Like, now like you send an artist in the studio to record a clean track, they'll swap out a few words or whatever. Nah, this is just I'm just gonna mute this whole disc.
They just muted it. Uh,
But look, man, we're here to talk about comics. We're here to talk about your journey. And of course, we're here to talk about this Kickstarter for Worlds Away, the graphic novel. But I want to get into origins. Obviously, we're around the same age. So I I could probably spitball some of your influences, but I want to hear from you. Like, what got you into comics?
yeah. Really, what got me into comics was my dad. So I do want to shout out to my dad, and that's where a lot of my stories come from. My parents, my family. But my dad, he grew up in Akron, Ohio, and he was a comic book nerd, man.
Wait, so
He
your
loved
dad knows LeBron?
he was born in the same hospital, and he will tell you that every single time. He was born in the same hospital as LeBron James and Stephen Curry.
That's cool.
But he was a comic book nerd, and he was the biggest Marvel head. And when I was growing up, he was in the military, he was in the Air Force. And when I was growing up, my brother he brought my brother and me or my brother and I to the comic book store. We had a really small comic book store, and he didn't really read the Image. My older brother, he got the new Image stuff, the new stuff that was coming out, the Young Blood, the Savage Dragon, and all that stuff. But my dad stuck to Marvel. And ever since then, man, it was on. Like he took me to the comic book store every Friday or Saturday. He said you could pick two, and I would pick the two that I wanted every week. And ever since then, man, it was just straight up comics for since I was in second grade.
Word. So you're going out, you're picking two every week. What are your usual suspects? What are you gravitating toward at that time?
My dad kind of embargoed um, DC for a while. So growing up, it was strictly Spider-Man, it was strictly X-Men, it was strictly Hulk. His favorite was the Hulk. He would always have me. We would always debate. Hey, can this character beat the Hulk? And he said, nope. Hulk is the strongest one there is. And he would always talk about Thor. He said him and Thor were the mightiest of them all. It'd be a dream to just show off to my dad. Marvel, if y'all listening, it'd be a dream to to write a Hulk book. But shout out to my dad, man, because he is a huge influence and still is. He was and still is a huge influence on everything I do.
Nice, man. That's cool. Like I didn't grow up with comics like that. Um, I tell people this all the time. I feel like podcast listeners are probably tired of it, but I'm here in North Carolina. I'm in Raleigh. This is where I
Mhm.
was pretty much born and raised. But my grandmother, when I was growing up, lived in Queens, New York. And I would go to her house for the summers. And my uncle had a friend who was like the stereotypical black nerd, like
Mhm.
with the Dragon Ball Z shirts and like the samurai swords, like that nerdy dude that like had the books for the video. Like, sorry, I'm just setting the scene. But point is that dude, I think, worked at a comic shop or something. And so he would bring just boxes and Rite Aid bags full of comics. And that would be our summer entertainment. And for whatever reason in my head, comics only existed in New York. And that was just a thing we did at grandma's house. And I guess because when I went home, we had cable and stuff, so I could just watch cartoons. But at grandma's house, we had comics. But yeah, I can't going to the comic shop every week as a kid, that's gotta be like some of the most fun times you can have.
Yeah, and it's a special place, and I'll shout out Heroes in Charlotte. I'm in Charlotte, y'all. Heroes does Heroes Con every year, but it's one of the best comic, if not the best comic. I'm not trying to, you know, throw shade at any other comic book store, but Heroes is a great place, and in general, comic book stores they've been very welcoming. They just want people to share their love, their passion for these characters, these
Mm.
superheroes.
All right. And so you're obviously exposed to comics at an early age, but when do you
Right?
decide, all right, I want to write? Do you try to draw first? Like, how's it going for you?
Yeah, man, that's a fun. I've been making my own comics since I was a kid. I remember I was in shout out to Shane. Shane was like my best friend. I have no idea what Shane Walker's doing right now, but Shane Walker was my best friend from second grade to like fifth grade, and we would make our own comic books. And I remember I created a character, Panda Man. He wasn't even a man; he was just a straight up anthropomorphic panda with Superman powers. But I created Panda Man, I created Cybear Man, all these different things. And I've been wanting to write ever since I was a kid, man. And it wasn't up until recently, maybe the past few years, that I actually, I started researching it. How would I create? How would I if I wanted to pursue this, what would it look like? And then come to find out, there were so many people like me who just love comic books and who wanted to create comic books and create these characters and put these stories out. And I actually ended up trying to pursue it, and that's what I'm doing now.
Word. And so when you start researching how to put comics together, what are the resources you're finding? Are they forums or is it just you go into meetups and stuff? Like, how does this work?
Mhm. Yeah, really, I there's a subreddit that might be really useful if you're listeners. If you're wanting to pursue this, there is a subreddit called Comic Book Collabs, and it's just people just looking to collaborate. People are trying to create comics, and it all comes from a good place.
Mm.
Um, and then from there, I reached out to a lot of people. This is the story that I want to write, and then a lot of times it'll fizzle out. Um, and that's just a part of the daily grind, y'all. But from there, you got to plan. This is this is how much I need. This is my budget. This is how much I can pay you, and this is the timeline. And then from there, I kind of extended into the Twitter space. Twitter's not a great place all the time, but the indie comic community, I will say in my experience, the indie comic community is a very welcoming group. Shout out to Brian Hawkins. Shout out to all these creators. They've been very helpful. They've been very kind. And people like you too, man. Like the people just trying to help people like me out. Most people that I've come across have been very kind and very willing to share their knowledge.
Word. Yeah, I kind of stumbled on this whole indie comic space. I couldn't even tell you how me and Danny Quick got hooked up. Danny
Shout out to
Quick,
Danny.
creator of Ace Play, or co-creator of Ace Play. Let me get that right.
Uh-huh.
But it was through him that I started learning about like more and more of these indie guys. And I think what happens is like, at least for YouTubers, like you interview one indie guy, all the indie guys are like, yo, like you interviewing people, like let me get on. so and so you start meeting people. And then when I started going to Heroes Con, really that's when I started to get an understanding of like this world of like the self-published, the upstart comic creators. And it really is like a family. It's like
Mhm.
I was at this year's Heroes Con, I was sitting there talking to Stephanie Williams about something. My man Javon Stokes walks up to us and it starts on a story that takes the three of us over to Greg Elise's table.
Mhm.
And then all of a sudden, it's just this mob, and we're all just surrounding Greg's table. And I felt so bad for the poor people that he's sandwiched between because we're just taking over all of their floor space. But we just get into this chat just about indie comics and shenanigans that might occur. But my point in bringing that whole story up is just I started to realize how close knit that community is.
Mhm.
Um, and I'm sure a part of it is like, skin folks and all that. But even, among other races, other minority groups, like it's just people that are into comics love it and they're trying to help whoever they can on their way up.
Yeah, and honestly, you guys, that's been my experience too. Shout out to Danny, because a couple years ago I didn't know Danny, and Danny
Mhm.
talked to me like he knew me for years, and now I talk to Danny every time I see him. So, and it's mostly it's at the cons,
Mhm.
but he's a good dude. Shout out to Roland, good dude.
Yes.
Greg, all these Anthony Stokes, they're all good people, and they just and it's weird because comics the comic industry creating is inherently it's competitive. We're not out there balling like versus each other. It's not like the NBA finals, but there's
Right.
a finite amount of people that we're all trying to reach, and these people have a certain amount of money that they can spend.
Hmm.
But even though we're competing, or quote competing with each other, we're all, in my experience, we're all rooting for each other, which is it's really special.
Yeah, for sure. And so you start taking writing seriously. You're going in these groups, you're finding people to collab with. Um, Eventually you enter Mad Cave Studios talent search. How does
Mhm.
that happen? What gives you the the audacity to throw your
Oh,
hat in the ring?
dog. Like when I won it, because I think the first time they did it must have been like 2017, 2016, or 2018, something like that.
Mm.
But the first three times, I didn't get anything back. And then in 2021, I just said, man, and I didn't do it in 2020 because I was like, well, man, I'm not gonna do that again.
Mm.
I already tried, I already put my heart and soul into this script 3 years straight or something like that. But in 2021, I said, you know what, I'll just give it a shot. I'm not going to expect anything like I was last time. And then I did it. I researched the story. I did it. I put everything I had into it. And then I forgot about it. I wiped my hands. I said, you know what, I'm not going to worry about it. If it happens, it happens. And I
Mm.
was teaching at the time, and I promised, dog, like I was getting worlds. I think I was getting worlds away together.
Mm.
Oh no, it was another one. It was a book, a short story for Wild Star Press. And I was emailing the artist for that. It was sixth period. I remember school was almost over. I said, and she shared with me the art. And she said, "Oh, and congratulations." And I said, and I emailed back, "Congratulations for what?" And then she showed me a screenshot of the Mad Cave, the winner's dog. And I promise you, I started bawling. I started crying in front of all my kids.
Oh
And
man.
they, and then I was shout out to Mr. O'Neill, who was across the hall from me. I just ran out of the classroom. I didn't know what to do. He
Uh,
saw me crying. He said, "Is everything okay?" And I just gave him a hug. And I was, but and because of that, I do want to say shout out to Mad Cave because they do hold this. If you guys want to do it, they do hold this talent search every year, and it gives people like us just a shot um, to be in that comic book world for a moment at least.
mhm.
And it's regular people, but I did it, and it happened, and it was a great experience. And shout out to Mad Cave.
Word. Now with Mad Cave, it's like they'll give you a prompt
Mhm.
and you got to use like I guess one of the characters that's already in their world
Right.
and you just come up with the story. What are the prizes? What do you get out of it?
Um, so when I did, well, and it kind of changes from year to year too. I think last year was Nottingham. The year before that was the one I did was like Wolvenheart.
Mm,
And the prize when it first started, like David Hazan and Jared Luhan, who was at Heroes 2,
mm,
they got a full series. They got a 5 issue series. They got to write a whole 5 issue series, and I wish I would have won that year, those years.
right.
And shout out to Stoney Williams who won as well. In more recent years, because Mad Cave has been blowing up a lot more,
Mm,
they're getting people like Cullen Bunn. They're getting Dan DiDio from DC to write some stuff. Now, I got a single issue, Tales from Nottingham #5. Which was part of an anthology. And I got to play in that Nottingham world that David and Brian was able to were able to create. So I was in previews, man. So, but because of that, it kind of gave me the confidence to actually pursue this comic book thing. I told myself if I'm going to create comics, um, now is the time. Now that
mm,
I have this opportunity with Mad Cave, who is starting to blow up. If it is ever gonna happen, it's gonna happen right now. And since then, I started to take this comic book thing a little bit more seriously, putting more stuff out.
word. Word. And that's cool. What's funny is like I didn't know about Mad Cave until
Mhm.
like very recently. I think I interviewed Gary Maloney, who
Mhm.
has When the Blood is Dried, which
Yeah.
for my money is probably like my favorite indie comic coming through previews right now. Right. It's funny all the qualifiers we put on stuff, but favorite indie comic that I can grab in a shop is When the Blood is Dried. It's like a it's like a Western fantasy type book. And I don't know, it's just great. Daniel Romero's on art. He does the colors, he does everything. And it's just a
Mhm.
good book. But anyway, I think so that book put Mad Cave on my radar. And then they've got Flash Gordon coming out later this
Oh,
year, or I think it's next month with
yeah.
Jeremy Adams. Um, and then they did there's another book that they just did like very recently. I think it's Dear Editor. And so it's like
Mhm.
people keep talking to me about all these different like little Mad Cave miniseries. And all of a sudden I'm like, dang, they're one to watch because everything that I've seen them put out is just quality.
Quality stuff. Yeah.
And then even yesterday, right? Like I'm preparing to make a video about why Marvel's digital strategy is just so much better, specifically than DC's. But I was about to crown them the king of digital.
I saw this post. Go ahead. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah. So I'm literally like writing my notes out for this video that I was gonna film yesterday, and I open up Facebook and see an ad for this subscription program that Mad Cave has. And basically, the way it works is you pay up front for the series. It's like $25 for the 5 or 6 issues, whatever it's going to be. You get each digital issue as it comes out. And then when the series wraps, you get the trade paperback sent to your door. And I'm like, yo, like, why does no one else do that? That is the smartest thing I've
That's
seen.
pretty good. That is smart as hell. I'm not even
Right.
gonna lie.
Like, because the problem with trade waiting is that I gotta wait. But if I can get the digital stuff right now and just skip the process of filing it in a short box, and it's just gonna be a paperback that I can just put on a shelf, yo, I would do that for every book in my collection.
I didn't even realize they did that until I saw that post. But that is pretty ever smart, man. Like I don't know why we haven't thought of it. And it took us this long to think of it. But shout out to Mad Cave, and they're good people too. Like that's the another crazy part is that everyone that I've talked to through there have just been friendly people, friendly, kind. They reached out to me for another project. Nothing happened from it,
Mhm.
but they just say, "Hey, do you have any ideas?" But yeah, they're good people, man. Shout out to them.
Nice, nice. Celebrating their 10th anniversary this year. So shout out to Mad Cave Studios. And now back to our regularly scheduled interview. So you so all right, Mad Cave kind of puts the battery in your back. You win the contest. You get to throw an issue out. You're in previews. You are a comic pro now, and you're like, all right, now it's time to really make this thing happen.
Mhm.
And what's your first project out?
The first project from a couple years ago is the one who that I'm actually putting in graphic novel in a trade paperback form is Worlds Away, and I've always had Worlds Away in the back of my mind. But in a nutshell, it's a story about a mother and a daughter. It's a sci-fi fantasy, but overall, a mother and a daughter, an estranged mother and daughter, they crash land on an alien planet. But this alien planet is not a normal alien planet like you would think. It's a mystical, magical type planet. And all they have are each other, and they have these high-tech Iron Man type suits. So it's a real clash of sci-fi and fantasy. And they don't really get along with each other. But the only way that they're going to survive is if they trust each other, if they cooperate. And that's Worlds Away in a nutshell.
Yeah, man. So I bought Worlds Away from you at Heroes Con because I guess we're just testing out formats, right? We got you get the single issues, you get the double issues. That's what I got. So I got issues one, two, three, and four.
Mhm.
And now I can get a graphic novel, which I might have to do that, right? Because this book is dope. So full disclosure, guys, I read issues one and two. I stopped short of reading issues three and four because I don't trust myself. Like I don't have self-control. I will spoil a book, especially talking to the creator, because then I'm gonna ask questions. Anyway, point is, I read the first half of this series. Really, really like it. Now, for me, a book needs a couple of things for me
Mhm.
every time, especially if it's like a superhero type book. I need action, but I also need like some sort of an emotional core. Like it can't just be, you know, like old school Power Rangers. Here's the villain of the week. Let's fight him. Oh wait, we can't fight him on our own. Let's get the Megazord. Like I can't. It can't be that formulaic. I need something that is like tying these characters together. That's explaining to me like, okay, why are we here? What do we have to overcome internally before we can even battle this whatever this problem is that's coming up against us? And I gotta say, at least through these two issues, I mean, I guess you could still disappoint me. No, I'm joking. But at least through issues one and two, it's like, man, like we got this mother and daughter, like you said, they're estranged. And I won't spoil why they're estranged. You've got this girl who, is missing a loved one. And then, right, this is the other piece that got me. And this wasn't until like yesterday when I'm reading these books. Because I told you, like, we met and I was like, dang, I feel like this is my brother. Like we here, we vibing. I'm looking and there's this QR code. And I'm like, what is this QR code? And so I scanned it and there are beats, there are instrumentals to go with each issue of the book, like for different scenes, right? When I got to the instrumental for issue two, it's produced by Damien Becton. It's
Yeah.
called cherish this moment. And it is like just this soulful, like boom bap beat
Uh,
that, like, if I'm honest, doesn't particularly go with Space Planet, but it makes sense based on who gives her this music. And I'm like, okay, this must have been what dude was jamming to before they got in this situation. This is like the home base reset music. I'm like, yo,
yeah.
listen.
Yeah. And I used to make beats when I was in high school. And that was a beat that I made in high school. I think I made all the beats except for that first one.
Mhm.
Um, but like but yeah, I appreciate you digging that, man. It was kind of like a shout out. The story really is like a love letter to my parents, to my family, because the a lot of the stuff when you read it, when you get to that, I was trying to mirror some of the stuff in my life or my experiences, and that music part was more of my dad. I've been talking about my dad. This story is about my mom as well, or quote unquote about my mom, but that was kind of what he passed down to me. And when you get to that part of the story or that those parts of the story, those are the things that hold or keeps Mackenzie grounded, that keeps Mackenzie. Those are the things that she cherishes about her dad,
Mhm.
that he passed down to her, and that was kind of like what comics did for me, from my dad. So yeah, so every issue will have a QR code, and you get to see how Mackenzie and her dad were able to bond. What music specifically they were able to bond to.
Word. Yeah. So, fun podcast fact about me. I also made beats in high school,
Hey,
well into college. Um, I was so deep into that world that I ended up interning for Ninth Wonder, like during like the sort of peak
dog,
of the
dog.
blog
Hey,
era.
let me. Oh, Ninth Wonder is really my inspiration for like when I used to make beats. I used to just listen to Ninth Wonder. I used
Right.
to listen to the Minstrel Show. I used to listen
Mhm.
to the Listening. All these things. I used to listen to the his remix of the Black Album.
Yes.
Dog,
Yes.
dude, we're the same
We're
person,
the
man.
same person. It's crazy. It is insane. Like, because all I wanted to be in life from about 2007, 8 till about 2013 was Ninth
Uh,
Wonder,
yeah,
right? Like, that was a
it's that
huge chunk
boom
of my
bap.
life. Hmm.
Did you use FL Studio? I used FL
I
Studio.
absolutely used FL Studio,
Yeah,
right? I think when I got on FL Studio, it was at Fruity Loop 7,
yeah.
but yeah, yeah.
Shout out to
And
you, man. Shout out to you. We could have been like, we would have been brothers for real. If we
right,
grew up next to each other, we would have been brothers for real, man.
absolutely. Now it's funny. The old set, when I moved into this house, I put all my records in storage. But if you look back at my older videos, they're all in front of my record collection. And then
That
as the
makes
graphic novel collection grew, it's like, okay, these all can't fit here.
sense.
These don't make sense to be in these videos, so I'll put those in storage. But anyway, just crazy connection points. All that to say, when I heard that beat, I was like, oh, this guy, he gets it. Like, anyway,
Thank you,
actually,
man. I appreciate that.
no problem at all. So, but yeah, for me, I need a book with a good emotional core. And this struggle between Mackenzie and her mother is
Mhm.
like, bruh.
Yeah. And even going forward, the crux of the story is, again, it's about a mother and a daughter, or a parent and a child and their child. Um, the whole story is those two don't get along, but Serenity, the mother, loves her daughter so much that she is willing to do anything, literally anything for that child, even though that kid does not realize it, even though that kid thinks that she is not a great person. She's cold, she's heartless,
Mm-hmm,
but she's that way for a reason, and because that mom thinks she needs to be.
mm-hmm.
And when you get to the next issues, I hope you dig it, Brent. Um, but you'll see exactly what this character, Serenity, the mother, is willing to do. And hopefully, if I did my part well, hopefully it'll tug some heartstrings on whoever reads it.
Listen, man, if that was not an ominous statement, but I'm excited to get into it. Once we finish this episode, that's exactly what I'm gonna do. Um, but yeah, man. So Worlds Away obviously, means a lot to you. It's kind of the first project that you end up, putting out, and you saw it through to completion, right? You've been selling it at cons. You've got this graphic novel collection. What is it about Worlds Away that is like, no, I need to keep getting this in as many hands as possible?
Um, it's really because it's so personal to me.
Mhm.
Um, every story that I write or I conceptualize or that I develop, there's some real personal levels. I try to find myself in there or somebody I know or something like that. But since this was the first one, I kind of tried to put quote all of my eggs in one basket because it might not happen again. I
Yeah.
might not have the opportunity to do what I want to do. So I really and I kind of hinted towards it a little bit before, but this is kind of like a love letter to my family, to my parents, to my mom, to my dad. Shout out to my mom. She's a little Filipino lady. She's the nicest lady in the world. And this story is a lot about her. Like I said, she's the nicest lady in the world, but she would literally do anything. AOB, I'm 33 years old, right?
Mhm.
But my mom will still text me. She'll message me on Facebook, and if I don't message her back, she'll text me and say, "Did you eat today, Damien?" Or she'll text me, "Do you need money?" I'm like, "No, mom, I'm 33." But so it's kind of like it's like a love, like I said, it's like a love letter to my mom. How I picture her.
Mhm.
She's not a cold-hearted, soldier, intergalactic soldier.
Mhm.
Um, but her and Serenity have something in common is that they would literally do anything for their kids. So that was kind of the story that I wanted to tell, and that's why I want so many people to read it. That's why I went all in with it.
Word. Word. Yeah, man. Gotta love moms that'll do anything, right? Like,
Shout out to mom.
right. Shout out to mom. My mother, I doubt my mom is listening, but I just got to take time to shout out my mom at this point
Yeah.
because my mom was one of those moms, like, especially being a single mom raising boys. Like, she's got two boys, and then the baby is a girl. But
Mm,
it's like raising two boys in the late 90s, 2000s, right? Like, you got to be tough. Like, you
mhm.
just have to be. And so there's definitely those ways where like the child and the parent can butt heads because it's like you're not understanding why they're being this way. They're not understanding why you're not just like falling in line. Like, what is going on? Like, I'm doing all of this for you. Why am I coming up against such opposition from my child who wants for nothing because I provide everything, right?
Right.
Like, but anyway, my mom's the best. So I had
Shout
to
out to mom, man. Shout out to all moms out there doing what they're supposed to be doing. But yeah,
So okay. So anyway, let's talk about this Kickstarter real quick. So the Kickstarter project for Worlds Away Volume 1. First of all, a shout out to you for fully funding this project. I think you doubled the goal in the first day.
yeah. It was. I didn't expect it to go that quickly. But yeah. Apparently, a lot of people were excited, just excited about it, as I was. And looking at the Kickstarter, the backers, there's a lot of new people as well who didn't back the previous Kickstarters.
Mm.
But yeah, that was really exciting just to get it out the way.
Yeah.
Um, just because if you ever ran a Kickstarter, it's anxiety. It's constantly looking at it, watching that backer count not move for a few hours, and then you get excited when somebody backs it and you add $15 to it. It's really it could be a really daunting experience. But getting it out of the way early, it was something I haven't done before. I was very grateful for. So shout out to everyone who backed it so far.
Right. Now, can you explain to us, I guess, the difference between this campaign and the formats it's been in the past? How are
Mhm.
we presenting the story this time?
Yeah, so in this, it's all four issues in a trade paperback book. It's going to be 100 pages plus some bonus content never before seen. So we're going to see a lot of the cover progression. You'll see. So after you finish the story, you'll see a cover gallery of all the different covers that were ever made. I think there's about 10 of them, I believe, for
Mm,
all the issues. But some of the stuff that we also added was some cover progressions. So you kind of get to see the behind the scenes of what goes into making a comic, because it's not just well, a lot of times it's not just, all right, send me the cover. The cover's finished. That's it. Um, for that first issue, you'll see we went through a bunch of different color options, and it's weird to admit, but I wanted it to be perfect. So shout out to Luana and AHG. I commissioned a couple of colors from them, but you get to see a few different options. You get to see the one where there is a green, mostly green, and then there was one that's red,
mm,
and one that looks painted and stuff. So there's that, and then you get to see, shout out to Kenneth Laster as well, who did a cover for issue 3. You get to see the cover progression with that. You get to see some of the scripts and how the scripts translated into the actual pages. You get to see so before, and let me back up a little bit, because Worlds Away went through a lot. Before this version of Worlds Away, there were three other versions of, or two or three versions of Worlds Away, where there were two or three other artists,
mm,
and they all worked with the same script. And you'll see how, from the first artist, how they kind of pictured what was going on in the script, how they translated that to the page. Um, so it really took a few years to get off the ground, and you'll see how, honestly, how long it took for it to come to fruition. And all of that's just going to be some bonus content in the back of this graphic novel. And it was really fun to put together too. It was really
mm.
cool to see, yo, this is a long behind process, but we actually did it. It actually wrapped up,
Yeah,
not and pretty nicely, I think.
nice. Now I just need this. We this campaign's funded. We're good, right? Like, maybe give it a year. Then I need the deluxe hardcover, right?
Hey man, if enough people get it, I promise you, I wouldn't put it past myself. I would
But
love to. That would be something special, because really, if this does well, if it does better, I'm trying to get, if I'm lucky enough, to do a volume 2. And that's not really hinting at anything
mhm.
in the story. But hopefully I'll be able to do a volume 2 of Worlds Away. That would be a really, really cool thing.
Word. Yeah, man. Then we need Worlds Away, Book One, Deluxe Edition,
Yeah,
collecting issues 1 through 8. Then
that would
Volume
be dope,
3
man.
and
Hey,
Volume 4. Listen,
if
all
y'all,
of it.
if y'all cross your fingers hard enough, it might happen.
Right. Right. I mean, no, if you spend enough money, it'll happen. You can
Right,
cross your fingers too, but we need the dollars. We need
right.
the kind that folds. So yeah, man. No, this campaign is dope. Um I'm sitting here going through the rewards and I'm like, do I have $200? Like, to see my name as an executive producer on a comic would just be, that'd be dope, right?
You Yeah. So one of the things that I wanted to do was, I wanted to immortalize, and there's only 2 spots. And if it
Mm,
happens, it happens. If it doesn't, that's fine too. But it was that reward, called executive producer. Your name will be immortalized in the World's Away pantheon, from now until until I decide Worlds Away isn't a thing anymore. But if you spend a certain amount of money, I forgot exactly what I put on there. But you'll be on the credits page with me, Christian, with Marco, with Reed, with Devin, with Chris, all these people that help put Worlds Away together. And your name, if you choose to do that, it will be immortalized as an executive producer with this version. So, but yeah, there's a lot of good stuff on there. There's a collector reward where you get a
Mhm.
signed trading card. You get a lot of different things that might be available.
Word. Yeah, no, there's a lot of really cool stuff. Yeah, I didn't even realize this till after the fact. I have a trading card. Mine's not signed though. So now I gotta back the Kickstarter for the signed trading card level.
Got
I
you,
got
fam.
I got Serenity. I'm excited. Right. Um, man. Okay. I even see it for whatever. Oh, I've only seen Serenity and Helmet so far. Right. But
Oh
Filipino mom,
yeah.
got you. Dope. But I just dropped it. I don't know where that went. Anyway. Um, so let's talk about the creative team because, obviously it takes writers, it takes artists, it takes colorists. So we've got Christian Prunesti. How'd you find Christian?
Remember when we were talking about how what it's like to make a comic book? I think I found Christian on Reddit. That subreddit r/comic book collabs. He was one of, he was just posting on there, I believe, and he said, "Hey, if anyone has any stories," and I just reached out to him. And that's where I found, especially at the beginning, I found a lot of artists that I really like that are really just wanting to create with people. So I found Christian on there. Marco as well. I think they're in the same. Marco, who did pages 1 through 4,
Mm.
and then Christian did the rest of the book. I think they work in the same studio actually because they both emailed me this week.
Huh.
And Marco said he was looking at Christian's pages, so I said, "Hey." Marco did that, and then shout out to Luana Christini, who did the colors, who really kind of put everything together. She's very, very talented, and another creator, Reed Hinckley Barnes, who's the letterer, the unsung heroes. Everyone, if you're gonna create a comic book, make sure you put your letters on your covers, man,
Yeah.
because literally there's an art to it.
Hmm.
Creating, putting letters on a page is not just typing it in a word bubble. And Reed does a lot of crazy things in there too. I asked him to kind of blur out some words because
Hmm.
Mackenzie was listening to music, and he did it. He did it beautifully. But shout out to Reed Hinkley Barnes, who's a writer as well, and Devin, who's the editor. Shout out to Devin.
Yeah, man. Nate Picos of blambot.com wrote the book on comic book lettering. I read it last week. And I mean, thank God I was a graphic designer, so a lot of these terms were familiar to me. But there's so much that goes into, like, it is not just typing up
Nope.
words and just throwing them on the page. Like uh, there's
If
so much to consider.
if there's something wrong with the letters, like us as readers who don't know too much about lettering, you'll see it.
Hmm.
You'll notice there's something wrong or there's something not right. We probably might not be able to identify it or name it, but there's so much that goes into it, and it takes a lot of talented people to do what they do.
Yeah, man, for sure. So letters need love too. Um, so yeah, man, Worlds Away, Volume 1 is on Kickstarter right now. Uh, looks like this project is ending on July 24th, um, which means I don't know when I'm releasing this episode because dang, I'm gonna have to push somebody out of a spot. That's what's gonna happen. So that you guys
It's
have
all
some
good,
time
man.
to
It's all
to
good.
nah, you gotta make sure that the audience has time to get in on this, right? So you guys have a few days left. I think if I'm playing my cards right, you got about 5 days left to get in on this Kickstarter. And again, it's already fully funded. My man Damien has run plenty of Kickstarters before. The books exist. It's 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 a done project, right? I got the book in my hand. Well, I got a version of the book in my hand, right? So it's going to be as simple as sending an InDesign file to the printers, maybe waiting for a proof or two, and then the book's in your hands. So go ahead and back that with confidence and
Sure.
you know, enjoy this story. I am very excited to read the rest of it. Because I mean, again, issues 1 and 2 were dope. I don't expect it to get worse at all. So, but yeah. So since Worlds Away, obviously Worlds Away is, it's like your first child. It's the gift that keeps on giving. It's something you don't want to walk away from. But you've been telling other stories since. What are some of the other things you've been up to?
Man, I got so many stories in my brain that I'm really just putting so much out. I need to slow down, honestly.
Hmm.
I have Try Not to Die, which is a horror comic with Kenneth Laster. I wanted to do issue number 2 this year, but Kenneth, shout out to Kenneth, super talented artist in Atlanta, Georgia. He's doing his own book, Zeta Galaxy Outlaws. But Try Not to Die is a horror comic book that we kickstarted last year. And then I did Center Takes All with Sunando C. And Sunando's actually doing a Stranger Things book right now as well. So he's working on Center Takes All and Stranger Things at the same time. And then I have another sci-fi fantasy book, more leaning more into the fantasy, leaning more into the Avatar, The Last Airbender, leaning into Final Fantasy type stuff. That's coming out in August, or that's going to be in Kickstarter in August, called The Few of Far Between. It's really it's a book. It's my Final Fantasy. I grew up playing Final Fantasy 7, Final Fantasy 8, Final Fantasy 9. This is my Avatar: The Last Airbender type story about a girl, a black sorceress, maybe 18 years old. A tyrannical alien AI crash lands on a magical planet. She journeys to stop it. So it's again that clash of sci-fi and action. That's already in pre-launch. If y'all are looking for it, you don't even have to look for it on Kickstarter. You can go to farbetween.com or farbetweencomic.com and it'll take you straight to the pre-launch page. But we're looking to hopefully kickstart that in August. So I'm doing a couple of things. Oh, I got a Black Box comic. I'm going to make sure you get a copy of that. Shout out to Demetrius from Black Box.
Shout out to Demetrius from Black Box. They sent me some shirts a while back. They published Empath by Brian
Yeah,
Hawkins,
Brian Hawkins. Yeah.
which I enjoyed very
Yeah.
much. So yeah, man, shout out to Demetrius. Now I wanted to ask you this, just because I think it's interesting, right? Like you've been a school teacher, I think you're a school administrator now,
Right.
but you're doing work, you're putting work in for the next generation. And you're telling stories, right? Like when most people, when normies, as we call them, think of comics, they think of books for kids. In what ways do your kids inspire your stories? And have you had instances where maybe you're sharing your stories with kids and it helps them?
Yeah. The kids that I've taught, the kids that I've experienced, the kids that I've grown to know since the past 10 years in education have a huge impact on my stories. Even the names,
Mm,
literally the names from Worlds Away are students that I've had. Serenity, she's in college right now. She was in my second year teaching, I believe.
mm,
Serenity was a second year student. Mackenzie, who's the main character, was a student in my first year teaching. And then Zaire is the father in the story. Zaire just graduated high school, so he's about to play football at Appalachian State.
nice. Hmm.
So and I named them after I named my characters after them. They got some mannerisms of them.
Hmm.
But even there's some issues of Worlds Away in the book in the school I'm an admin at now.
Hmm.
Um, and a lot of times the students will say, "Do you write comic books?" I
Hmm.
was like, "Yeah, I write comic books." And they'll say, "Aren't those for kids?" I say, read it, check it out, and tell me what you think." And they, a lot of times, because I don't want to influence them I really, if I can get them to read, that's a W.
Right.
But I don't want them to, I don't want them to like it just because I wrote it. But I'll say, hey, just check it out. Tell me what you think. And then a lot of times they'll say, yeah, it was pretty good. I like, who's Mackenzie? Is that a name? Is she named after? I was like, kinda, sorta. She's
Mm,
named after a Mackenzie, but probably not your Mackenzie. But there's so much because kids experience so much that we don't know about.
mhm.
So a lot of I can't help but be influenced by my life and their lives as well. And there's a lot of good kids out there who deserve to have their stories somewhat told,
Mhm.
or just to have a light on them for a little bit, because at home a lot of times they don't have much.
Yeah.
So it's kind of my shout out to them too, especially the kids who impacted my life hugely.
So as someone who deals with kids on a daily basis, on a way different level than I do, right? I have kids,
Right?
but that's different from being an educator. What is something that adults or even parents often misunderstand about kids?
Man, that's a they and it's kind of a two-sided coin.
Mhm.
Um, a lot of times parents will, and this is my experience as an educator because I'm not a parent, and I
Right.
say this to my parents all the time. But from my experience, a lot of times parents will think their kid is perfect,
Mhm.
and when they're coming into sixth grade, they meet a lot of different kids that they probably will never meet before,
Mhm.
or meet again. They're still learning, and they're gonna make mistakes. So, and that's okay because and I tell my parents that too. Even as adults, we make mistakes, and a lot of times, some parents, and I'm not saying I have a lot of great parents, but
Mhm.
they'll think we're out to get their kid. And I'm like, man,
Mhm.
nah, I want to see so and so do well. But
Mhm.
just trust me, education, in my experience, has been a good experience. It's a tough job, I promise you. Sometimes I come home and I'm like, let me just go to bed at 5 o'clock and get ready for tomorrow. But kids will make mistakes, and that's okay. And kids need to know that too. I don't know if you watched the new Inside Out, but it's okay to make mistakes,
I haven't
and
seen it yet.
we gotta learn from them.
Word. That's funny. That must just be in the middle school teacher handbook. You legit sound like my daughter's teachers last year. I was like, yo, what is happening right now? But you're right, especially middle schoolers. They'll be
Mm,
one way at home, one way in one classroom, one way in another classroom, one way with their friends. Like it's just,
yep,
but they're trying to figure it out, trying to find their
yep.
tribe,
And they
trying to find.
probably won't until shoot. I'm a different person than I was 10 years ago. I'm a different person than I was 5 years ago. So
Mhm,
that's just a part of life.
for sure, for sure. So, that's dope. This has been a dope conversation. And I feel like it could still go in several different directions. But I did want to ask you, just sort of in parting, um, if there's one thing that you want people to take away from your stories, right? You write all sorts of stories. You got adventure, you got fantasy, you got sci-fi, you got horror. Is there something that you're trying to put in everything? Is there is there a message? Is there a theme? And some people have them, some people don't. But I'm
Hmm.
always curious as to, what you're expecting people or hoping people glean from your works.
Yeah. Specifically with themes, all the story, and I try not to have the same theme for each story that I put out.
Hmm.
But one thing that I will say is, I want if I'm lucky enough to have a reader choose my book or choose my story, and it's kind of going back to what you were saying earlier. It's I want my characters to be believable. I want them to be actual people. I want them to sound like actual people. I want them to, I want the reader to see a little bit of themselves in whoever it is, whether it's a 13-year-old girl who's on an alien planet, whether it's a high school girl who's running from a slasher.
Mhm.
I want to be able to um, write believable characters because, in my opinion, that is the crux of any story. You can have all these flashy things happen, but if you don't care about those characters, then a lot of times that story might not be as memorable as it could be. So themes, a lot of my themes are about family. But if I can write a good character, I think I'll be on a good track.
Absolutely. Yeah, because that's what got me in Worlds Away. It was like just immediately I wanted to know more about these people, regardless of the threat they're facing. It's
Right.
like, but is she gonna get right with her mom though? Like, are they gonna be good? Like, it's that's dope. Um, all right. So you've kind of we've gone through advice for creators a lot in this interview. And I guess I'm sure you wouldn't say that you've arrived, right? Um, but you've come really far
Right.
and you've got, I guess, further to go, right? I'm sure you've got other goals. Um, so first I'll ask you, for those looking to get where you currently are, what advice do you have for them?
Try. And I understand that, not everyone has the finances um, available because I'm in a different spot. I don't have kids. So a lot of the money that I bring in, I can use it for myself.
Mhm.
But if you have a story to tell, if you have, the opportunity to do it, if you have the funds to make it happen, I would say at least try. And it sounds cliche. I promise you, it sounds cliche. And it might sound corny, but it's you have to, if it's ever going to happen, you have to try. You have to get your feet wet. And it might just be going into the deep end. You will fail. My first Kickstarter that I ever did, I had a goal of $2,000, and I didn't reach it. That kind of put me on a path like, man, I'm not doing that again. And then I just dove right in for the next time. I planned, learn from your mistakes. But if you're ever gonna make it, if you're ever gonna make it happen, you have to try. And again, I know it sounds cliche, but it's either that or you're never gonna know what might be able to happen. And I'm like you said, I'm still learning. I'm still looking to make that quote big break. But I'm having fun. I promise you, I'm having a lot of fun doing what I'm doing.
Absolutely. And on that note, um, what are some of your goals? Where are we trying to reach?
Yeah, I'm so thankful for Band of Bars. I'm so thankful for Mad Cave Studios for putting a lot of the stuff that I'm putting out. But if I could, everyone's big goal is to write for Marvel and DC and have a
Mhm.
book at Image. And I would be lying if I said I wouldn't do that. But if I can have a steady fan base, if I could just, have continue to put out good books, if I can have people who want stories from me, if I can continue to be at Heroes Con, if I can branch out to more cons in Raleigh, or I can go
Mhm.
to Georgia and things like that, that would be a win for me. But like I said, if any editors at Marvel or whatever are listening, that would be a dream. Honestly, it would be a dream come true.
Yeah, man. Absolutely. Speaking of heroes, um, I've been getting on my workout stuff, right? Right. So next time you see me, I'm definitely not about to have the quads out like my man Becton, but but I could if I wanted to. That's where
Hey
I'm at.
man, I'm gonna come up. I'm gonna come up there, man. And we go chop it up. We go work out, man. We go eat too. We gonna have to eat too,
Oh
man.
yeah. Oh, for sure. For sure. Yeah, the restaurant scene has changed so much too. So it'll all be exploring for me. I cook so that I can eat. And then I work out so that I can eat more. It's been dope. But anyway, listen, man, this conversation has been great. And you are welcome back anytime. For those of you guys listening, once again, the campaign for Worlds Away, Volume 1, the 100-page graphic novel plus extras is live on Kickstarter right now. It's already fully funded. So go ahead, claim your spot, claim your graphic novel. You can get in, get the trade paperback for as little as, where we at? Okay, you get a physical copy of just the book for $24. You can go digital and get a bunch of books. There's a lot of different options here. If I had to choose one for you, I'd say go digital deluxe. Go ahead, get the deluxe edition, the $30 you get, or excuse me, $35. You get the Serenity Battle Pen, you get the trade paperback, you get digital comics as well. I think that's the best bang for your buck. So you got a few days. Go ahead and get in on it.
Thank y'all, man. Thank you for having me. Go to worldsawaycomic.com. It'll take you straight to the Kickstarter. B, man, I appreciate you. Thank you guys for listening to me. Thank you for listening to me talk about my mom and my dad for a while. I appreciate y'all.
Listen, no problem at all. And again, thanks for the time. So once again, that is worldsawaycomic.com. And where can they find you on the socials?
On Instagram, I'm on Instagram and Twitter. I'm not calling it X. On Instagram, it's at Becton. On Twitter, I am at Damien Becton. And I'm active on there all the time, especially now that I'm on summer break.
Nice, nice. Well, look, that's going to do it for this episode of Comics Are Dope, the podcast here on the YouTubes and on your favorite podcast streamer. Go to comicsaredope.com/podcast to subscribe to the show. If you missed out on previous episodes like Christopher Priest or Stephanie Williams or Nicholas Draper Ivy, they're all there for your listening pleasure. So check them out. I appreciate you listening this time around. And until next time, stay safe, stay awesome, and read something dope today. Peace.